Kelly and Laura, good to see you.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, Kelly Lafferty. Your picture looks amazing, by the way, but I haven't seen you in ages. It's so good to see you here. And welcome Yara, Marla, Carl, Meg, Gary, Sarah. So happy to see you all. You can get settled and we're going to get started in just a minute here. Well, as we're all coming in, I'd love it if you could find the chat and maybe just say hi to everyone in the chat and let us know where you're coming in from. Um, those who don't know me well, I'm Amber Maier and I'm in Minnesota. I'm in the Twin Cities suburb. Kelly is from West Palm Beach. Every time we see her, we're jealous of that. Yeah, she just rescued what, a sea turtle on the road the other day. Was that
Mhm.
right?
Yep, I pull them out of the ocean and take them to the hospital.
And Barbara's here from Ireland. We were talking about hitting up a pub with her after this was over
Yes.
tonight.
Yes.
Invited ourselves right over. Melanie's from Virginia. Laura's from Wisconsin. Gary, you're from Illinois. I lived in Illinois for a couple years, many years ago. We have
Great.
Ohio. Oh yeah, and Kelly, you're
Awesome.
still in Illinois too. Oh, we have a few people in Illinois. Amazing.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, I lived in I'm like, which one was which? I lived in Naperville and I worked in Aurora. That's what it was. So suburbs of Chicago quite a
Yeah.
while ago. Well, welcome everyone. I see Melissa, you popped in. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Amazing. It was so good to
Melissa.
see your faces. Well, let's get started. I am Amber Maier, and I'm going to be your host and guide over the next few days. Welcome to the Soul Awakening Summit. I am super excited that you are here, and we are going to have so much fun this week. I'm Amber. I'm the founder of the Akashic Angel Healing Academy, and really my work centers around helping lightworkers reconnect with their intuition and awaken their spiritual gifts and step into their soul's purpose with clarity and confidence. And so I think you've already taken a powerful step just by being here. You know, this is a space and an invitation to really step into deeper awareness and deeper honesty and have more of a grounded connection with yourself and your path. And over the next few days, you're going to be exposed to new perspectives and tools and practices. But most importantly, this is really about strengthening your relationship with your own inner knowing. And I don't believe that you're here by accident. I think that there's a part of you that's ready for something more. And I'm honored to walk alongside you as you explore whatever that may be for you. Um, and oh, we have more folks from Ohio too. Awesome. Oh, and Marcy's here. Hi, Marcy. Good to see you. So, this summit was created really with one intention in mind to support your soul awakening. And so, over the next few days, we're going to explore things like intuition and spiritual connection, healing, discovering your purpose, and just really more fully stepping into your gifts. And for those of you who've been on this path for a while, you know that awakening is really, really beautiful. But it's also pretty vulnerable because awakening means that you need to shed old identities and beliefs and ways of being. And it means peeling back the layers of conditioning so you can fully embody your truth. And that's
Mhm.
why I think the presenters at this summit are so special. So, the luminaries that are presenting here have walked this path themselves. They've done the deep inner work, they've developed their gifts, and now they're sharing their wisdom and their experience to support others. And so before we dive in deeper, I just want to hear from you. Like, what's one thing you hope to receive from attending this summit? Maybe it's clarity in an area of your life or some sort of breakthrough, or maybe it's a message from your guides. Like, let me know in the chat. I find that when we claim something like outside of us, we really can like begin to move some energy around that. So just throw that in the chat. Focused intention. Love that, Kelly. To get out of the black box. Yeah. Mandy says, claiming a stronger voice. Yeah. To serve, Barbara. Yeah. It's perfect. Help determining my next direction. Yeah, I feel like that's a question I have for myself all the time, huh? Like, what's next? What's that next step? Reigniting your intuition. I love that. Yeah. Yeah. Who else here feels like you kind of have like hills and valleys with your intuition? It's like I'm really, really connected. And maybe I'm not so much. Yeah. Yeah. That definitely can be a theme for us all, for sure. Yeah, Tina's saying yes. Awesome. Well, super glad you are here. Keep thinking about what you want to claim, and really set that intention for it. And so before we dive into my topic for tonight, I want to give you just a quick preview of what is coming with our summit. So the summit is today through Thursday, and we have two awesome sessions every single day. You have one Zoom link for each day. And so you just join that link, and at 6 Central Time, we'll have our first session, and 7 p.m. we have our second one. And so after me today, we have Teresa with Stop Living in Fear and Start Choosing the Life You Truly Desire. And she's going to guide you in reconnecting with your authentic self and releasing fear. And she's going to help you work with Archangel Zadkiel and the Violet Flame. And then tomorrow, starting at 6 Central Time, we have another couple of powerful sessions. We have Melanie, and she has The Witch in the Pew, reclaiming the magic they called sin. And she's going to unpack how power has been taken, how to reclaim it through real grounded practices. And tomorrow, we also have Yara with Sacred Communion and an attunement to your divine team. And she's going to be offering direct experience and connecting with your own angels and guides and spiritual allies. And then Wednesday, we'll continue with Sam and Living a Soul Aligned Life, where you're going to explore practical ways to recognize blocks and take soul aligned steps forward. And Kelly with Transform and Rise, she is going to introduce her Rise framework and help you create lasting transformation by working with the subconscious mind and shifting patterns at their root. And then on the final day, we're going to have Barbara with Return to Your Radiant Blueprint. And this is going to be a really restorative session that's focused on recalibrating your energy and activating your your light body, and recognizing your natural state of vitality. And then Matt is going to close us down with the Aligned Brand Mood Board to help you give form to your sacred work. And so he's going to help you bring your purpose into form and create a visual direction that reflects your work with clarity and intention. And so I'm super excited that I get to attend all these sessions too. And each one of these sessions really opens a different doorway, really, to the same deeper work to help you reconnect to your intuition and strengthen your relationship with your own inner knowing. And so you might also be asking yourself, who are these luminaries? The luminaries sharing their gifts at this summit are really incredible and powerful light workers that have journeyed through both my Akashic Angel Healing Academy, which I like to call AHA for short, a little tilt my hat to all the aha moments that the angels and the Akashic Records have given me over time. And these lightworkers have also gone through my Lightworker Luminaries Business Mastermind. And so as graduates of AHA, they've received dual certifications in Akashic Record Reading and Angel Healing, and they really mastered the art of working with angels and the Akashic Records for healing and transformation. And then through the mastermind, they have really taken their gifts to the next level, and they've built soul aligned businesses and are really stepping confidently into their roles as leaders and change makers. And so I have found that each one of these folks that are with us this week really embody the heart of spiritual service, and their sessions are really a reflection of their powerful gifts and the light that they have to share with the world. So I'm super excited that you're here um, to witness their work and get to take part of that. And so, um, before we dive into the session, I'll share just a little bit more about me and really why this work matters so much to me, like really why I've been called in this direction. And for a long time, I knew that there was something deeper calling me. I knew that there was a lot more to my life, but I never really fully trusted myself or what direction I was going. I've never considered myself what I like to call like a natural psychic, like those people that pretty much like drop out of the womb talking to angels and ghosts, when they're, like 2 years old. I did not grow up confidently using my intuition or feeling clear on my inner knowing. And like a lot of people, I started to look outside myself for answers. I always second guessed what I felt. I overrode my own truth. And I found even once I entered the world of spirituality that it was also really easy to believe that someone else knew more about me and my life than I did, if they were like more intuitive than me. And so what really changed my life was not necessarily becoming more spiritual in some abstract sort of way. It was really learning about how to come back into relationship with myself and my body, my intuition, my emotions, really my connection with spirit, and learning how to trust what I was actually receiving. And it was working with the Akashic Records and angel healing, and deep inner healing that I really began to understand that intuition wasn't necessarily about becoming anything special. It was really about becoming more honest and about really reclaiming my inner authority, and really learned how to live really connected to my own knowing again. And so that's really why I care so much about this work, because when people reconnect to their intuition, they stop giving their power away. They begin to trust themselves more deeply, and they can become more discerning and more grounded and really able to walk through life in more alignment with who they are. And I've seen what happens to people when they can reconnect in this way. I've seen it in my own life. I've seen it in the lives of my clients and my students. And so I want to offer you just this quiet moment right now, just to close your eyes and really sink into that. Imagine that. Maybe feel into, where in my life am I not fully trusting myself? Just notice what comes up for you. Where in my life am I not fully trusting myself? Maybe you notice a pattern of where you're always second guessing, maybe where you're always wanting to get someone else's opinion on something. And when you've found that place in your life where maybe you don't fully trust yourself, I want you to imagine what it would feel like if you did, if you did fully trust yourself. And what would shift in your life if you felt more clear in your decisions? What would it feel like, or what would it mean for you if you were more connected to your own knowing? And what might become possible for you if you stopped waiting for certainty and you started to just trust the next step? And just feel into that. And just notice what feelings, knowings, thoughts pop up right away. And then drop in the chat, like, what really stood out for you? I was thinking about this as I was asking you these questions. What came up for me is like, gosh, I would save myself so much time, so much time. Think about how much time we just kind of ruminate on our decisions, right? Going back and forth. Polly, more confidence without second guessing. We're sharing a brain right now. Tina, confidence in what you do and live as you want to do. Yeah. And Melanie, more focused. Yeah. And Melissa, experience more joy through helping others, more confidence in taking the next step forward. Beautiful. Oh, and Marla, joyful insights. I think we could all use more joy for sure. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. And this is really what this whole summit is here to support. Not just learning more, but really reconnecting with the part of you that already knows how to navigate your path. Really strengthening your intuition, deepening your discernment, building a relationship with yourself that allows you to move through life with more clarity, more confidence, more alignment. And so, in this opening session, returning to your inner authority and reclaiming the power of your intuition, we're going to explore why intuition is more important now than ever and how many of us have become disconnected from our inner knowing. We are going to talk about the hidden ways we give our power away spiritually and some simple practices on how to begin reconnecting with the intelligence of your body and your intuition. So, who's ready to jump in? Awesome. So, these days, we are living in a time where your intuition, and I like to consider your intuition like your internal truth detector. I think we're living in a time where it's just not optional anymore. It's essential. And it's because we're living in this time of profound noise. Like, if you think about it, like with technology, AI, social media, constant information, increasingly divisive narratives, it's getting harder and harder to know what's true or like what's even real sometimes, right? And so I find that everyone wants to tell you what reality is, what matters, what you should believe, who you should trust. And we're constantly being sold something. And I'm not even talking about products. I'm talking about like worldviews, identities, dependencies, certainty. It's super overwhelming when you think about all of it. And when you're surrounded by that much noise, that much pressure and projection, it can become really, really easy to lose touch with your own inner compass. And if you're not deeply anchored in yourself, you become incredibly easy to influence and to manipulate. And so that's part of why this conversation matters so much right now, because one of the most radical things you can do in a world that's constantly trying to condition and distract and define you is to come back to your own knowing. Not blind certainty, not I know everything, but real inner authority. The kind that says, I know how to listen, I know how to feel what's true for me, I know how to discern what's mine and what's not, and I know how to stay connected to myself even in a noisy world. And so we've just become really, really disconnected from our intuition over time. And I say disconnected because the truth is that we're all intuitive. Intuition actually is not rare. It's not reserved for psychics or mystics or a chosen few. It's actually part of our natural design. I like to think of it as like our original language, but many of us were taught very early on to disconnect from it. And so we were taught to trust authority over inner knowing. We were taught to trust systems over direct experience and to trust approval over truth. And the truth is that there's entire systems built on that disconnection, systems that benefit when people don't trust themselves, systems that condition obedience instead of discernment, systems that teach people to hand their power over to institutions, leaders, or even inherited beliefs rather than developing a real relationship with your own soul, body, your own inner guidance. And so religion can do this, family systems can do this, schools can do this, politics can do this, culture can do this, and even spiritual spaces can do this. And so many of us were shaped to believe that truth lives somewhere outside of us and has to be handed to us by someone that has more authority, more knowledge, maybe someone who's more spiritually connected than us. And so over time, many people learn to override what they feel, to mistrust what they sense, to silence what their body is telling them. And it's not because intuition is weak, but it's because conditioning is really, really strong. And reclaiming intuition means undoing all that conditioning that we've gone through. It means returning to the part of you that can feel, sense, and discern and know. And so before we learned logic, we experienced the world through intuition, through sensation and instinct and emotion and energetic awareness, pattern recognition. And so I like to think of intuition not just as like a psychic ability, it's really like the body, the nervous system, and the soul like working all together. And so it shows up as gut knowing, emotional resonance, subtle sensing, energetic awareness. And when we disconnect from this, we begin to lose trust in ourselves, which makes it a whole lot easier for us to continue to give our power away when we don't trust ourselves to begin with. So let's do a little nervous system check in. that I want you to answer honestly. You know, maybe even I always like when I really want to focus, I always close my eyes because it brings my attention within. But just do a little check-in in your body right now with everything that's happening in the world right now. How is your nervous system feeling? Just maybe notice how you feel in your body or notice the quality of your breath. Because many people are feeling really overwhelmed right now, constantly stimulated, which is exactly why reconnecting to your body and your intuition is so important right now. And so there's another layer to awakening that people are rarely warned about. And that is spiritual bypassing. Is this something you all have heard of before? Awesome. Yeah. And so this is a term that was coined to describe the tendency to use spiritual ideas or practices to avoid unresolved emotional pain or maybe like difficult truths. And so, like in really simple terms, spiritual bypassing is when spirituality becomes a way of avoiding reality instead of engaging with it. And honestly, like we probably could talk about spiritual bypassing for the next 2 or 3 hours because it's a really great topic, you know? It's complicated. So we're just gonna talk a little bit about it. But spiritual bypassing oftentimes shows up as this attempt to like stay in the light while refusing to enter really more of like this underworld of grief and anger and fear, disappointment, you know, what we consider a lot of times we label these as negative emotions, but my belief is that there's actually there's no bad emotions. All of our emotions are here to help us for some reason or another. But what you will find though is that real transformation doesn't happen by floating above life. It happens by entering it fully. And sadly, many modern spiritual spaces unintentionally reinforce spiritual bypassing. You know, you hear a lot of things like, "Well, just stay positive," or you know, everything happens for a reason. You know, don't focus on the negative energy. You know, the more energy you throw at that, the more you're going to bring more of that to you, or just send love and light. And while these ideas may have really good intentions, and obviously there's some truth to them as well, they can become a way of overriding what's actually happening inside of us. And the truth is that healing requires us to feel what's real, not to transcend it prematurely. And so, like, anger is not a spiritual failure. Grief is not low vibration. Confusion actually isn't a sign that you're doing something wrong. Oftentimes, these emotions are the doorways to deeper truth, and avoiding them doesn't heal them. It just pushes them underground, where they're going to continue to shape our lives just unconsciously, rather than being able to work with them consciously. And so, another form of spiritual bypassing, I like to call spiritual disempowerment. And so I feel like it's kind of like almost like a special brand of spiritual bypassing that I see happen a lot in the world of spirituality. And this happens when spirituality becomes a way of giving away your personal authority instead of using it to deepen it. So instead of, say, relating to spiritual support as allies, people begin treating them as like external authorities that know better than they do. And so this can show up in ways that can look really spiritual on the surface, but can actually potentially be ways that people are giving their power and their authority away. And so, you know, maybe you or people you have known are constantly seeking readings from others because they want to get more clear on maybe what's happening in their life. But maybe what's happening underneath that is that you don't trust your own discernment. Or maybe asking angels or guides to make decisions for you rather than helping you see more fully or get a different perspective that's going to help you grow. Or it could look like relying solely on, say, like oracle cards, pendulums, or signs to determine your action rather than validating what you know. So these are just a few different examples of it. And I also want to be clear that spiritual tools are not the problem. Spiritual tools like Akashic Records, angel guidance, getting a reading or a healing, these can all be incredibly powerful. But we have to remember that they're meant to give us more perspective, not to remove our responsibility. And so that's where things can get out of balance. Because the goal of spiritual growth actually isn't certainty. I know that that probably was my goal when I first started going down this path. I wanted to have the answers to everything. Like, like how I thought, how great would it be if I just had this surefire way of knowing what the outcome of things was going to be, and that's what I wanted. But the truth is that the goal of spiritual growth is not certainty, it's sovereignty. Your guides and angels are not here to run your life for you. They're here to support you with your free will, to really illuminate possibilities for you, to walk beside you as you make conscious choices, but not to make those choices for you. And if you don't fully trust your own connection through your intuition to your angels and guides, this can be actually one of the most powerful steps you can take to reclaim your inner authority. So we can work with our angels and guides to help us clearly see so we can make more informed choices, better choices. And because real awakening requires something that many spiritual paths try to avoid, and that is shadow work. So, shadow work is really the willingness to look honestly at the parts of ourselves that we'd rather not see. The parts of us that carry grief, that carry anger, fear, shame, old patterns, unfinished wounds. It's the willingness to ask questions like, what am I avoiding feeling right now? Or maybe what truth have I not fully digested? Or what part of myself have I pushed aside to appear or feel good or spiritual, maybe in some way, or acceptable? Because transformation doesn't happen by escaping darkness and what's in our shadows. It happens by learning how to remain present with it. And that's really where real sovereignty and liberation begins. And the paradox is this: the more that you're willing to face what's real inside of you, the less power the outside world has over you. Because when you know yourself deeply, it becomes much harder for others to define your truth for you. And that's where intuition becomes incredibly powerful. And when you start to trust your intuition and you start to trust your connection with your angels and your guides, you start to realize that real wisdom doesn't live in black and white answers. The world we live in is inherently gray. So real wisdom really lives in discernment. So intuition and our connection to our angels and guides isn't going to give us a perfect script for life. It's going to give us maybe the next steps, or it's going to help us understand what's true and right for us, not the entire playbook, like just breadcrumbs. And so, how I was sharing when I first went down this path, like I really wanted the whole playbook, and I wanted that certainty and know exactly what the outcome was and everything. But at one point, my angels in a reading with them, they showed me just like how boring life would be if we knew the outcome of everything ahead of time. Like if you really stop and think about it, like you never had to even guess on what was going to happen and everything was just a certain outcome no matter what you did. Like, wouldn't that be boring? It'd be incredibly boring. So that was really what I needed to hear from my guides because I kept looking for that certainty. Um, and so how do we overcome all of this and start to return to our own inner authority? So I want to introduce you to one of the most spiritual things about you. Are you ready? It's your body. I know it probably wasn't the answer that you were looking for. But actually, one of the most spiritual things about you is your body. Your body is this incredibly sophisticated, intuitive instrument. It's actually your greatest translator of energy. And to be able to grasp the meaning of like higher vibration messages that we receive from our angels and guides, we actually need to bring that energy back into our body to align it with the frequency that we as human beings can comprehend. And so Archangel Raziel worked with me a lot when I was really trying to understand how intuition worked. And he shared this really helpful analogy that our bodies are like Google Translate. So just like how you might use Google Translate to decode a language that is foreign to you, that your body is really your best tool for translating the language of energy, which of course is the language of your angels and your guides. Oh, Melody, this whole thing. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I had realized that for a long time, a lot of the practices that I was trying to do to deepen my intuition was escaping my body, like, trying to, like, oh, like body's low vibration and all these things. Let's like leave the body, but it's actually the return to the body that is really gonna open things up for you the most. Um, so. But as you know, many people disconnect from your bodies. Who here feels like you're 100% connected to your body all the time? Let's see a show of hands. Yeah, right? Yeah, same. Like, I think it's like a practice we really have to embrace. If I go unchecked, I live in my head or out here very frequently. So it's something I have to really remind myself to stay in practice with, to make sure I stay in my body. Um, but we have to remember that spirit actually talks to us through our bodies. And so if you're interested in really opening up your intuitive senses and trusting them deeply, reconnecting to your body is necessary. And it might not be, I don't know, the sexiest of practices in the world of intuition. And it's not something that you can like usually crack open and get it down in one short meditation, but it's kind of the regular routine of returning to your body over and over that is really going to deepen and open that channel over time. That's definitely something that I know I personally experienced myself for sure. But I work with people opening up their intuition all the time, and what I can tell you is that we're very, very not patient with the process, right? We're all looking for that magic fix, that one meditation or healing session that we get, that we open our eyes and then everything is blasted open and we can see angels and past loved ones with our naked eye and, all these things just like in a flash. And this is, I mean, I'd probably be lying if I said I still didn't want that. I mean, it sounds great, right? But unfortunately, it doesn't really happen that way for most folks. I like to compare developing your intuition more to like other skills that you learn, because really it's a skill. Like it's there for us, but if we're not already tuned into it, it just takes some work and like skill building to really connect back to it. So I like to compare it more to like learning a different language or learning to play an instrument. Like um, I am not a musical person. I don't know how to read music. I don't know how to play instruments. And so if I decided I wanted to play the piano, it's probably going to take me a while before I can play Mozart, right? I'm going to probably have to learn, what the different notes, like the notes and the keys, and probably how to read music. And I might be able to start with like, a note at a time, then simple melodies, and I'd like really work my way up. It's probably not a real realistic expectation that I'm going to listen to a meditation on how to open up my musical abilities and then I'm going to play Mozart tomorrow. So, um, so again, um, intuition is super magical, but the process of really opening it up and learning to trust it is like deepening any other kind of skill, so that it can be really fun, but it also doesn't happen overnight. So I just like to be as real as possible. So, if you're interested in opening up your intuitive senses and really trusting them deeply, you got to reconnect your body, right? So I want to show you a couple of quick exercises to help you reconnect and deepen your relationship with your body so you can get on track to reclaim your inner authority. And so this first one, I want to help you get reconnected to where emotions are being held in your body. Um, because if we connect back to spiritual bypassing, which I think if we all look deeply at, we're all guilty of this in some fashion. I know I am. And when we consistently avoid or override what we're feeling, a few things can start to happen. First, we lose clarity. Things can just feel off, or maybe we just feel bad, but we maybe can't even name like what's there. And when we can't actually name what's there, it makes it almost impossible to work with. And second, those unprocessed emotions, they don't just disappear. They get stored in our body. We talk about like stuffing our emotions, like we're literally just stuffing them down in our body to take care of later when we're not processing them in the moment. And so over time, when we've been stuffing these emotions, they can create physical tension, issues, pain, emotional reactivity. And they can also really start to interfere with your ability to clearly sense your intuition. And so, if you've studied intuition at all, you know that there's different ways that we receive messages, and we call those our clairs. And one of the primary clairs or ways that we receive intuitive information is through clairsentience, which is clear feeling. And so there's really two different types of clairsentience. There's more of like a somatic clairsentience, where like you feel sensations in your body, um, and so, that might be how you pick up aches and pains of your loved ones just being around them. You're just like, suddenly, where did this headache come from? And then your partner's like, oh, man, I have this really awful headache. And you're like, oh. And then as soon as they mention it, your headache goes away, that sort of thing. Or just how you can feel different textures of energy. That's more of that somatic clairsentience. And then there's more of emotional clairsentience, and this is the one that people will really um, is really connected to being an empath. Being able to feel other people's emotions, um, and be able to feel kind of energy signatures in rooms and things like that. And so, if we've been numbing, suppressing, or disconnecting from our emotions, it becomes much harder to discern what we're picking up, and even what's ours and what someone else's. And so that's why emotional awareness is actually not separate from intuition at all, is actually completely foundational to it. So I want to walk you through a simple way to begin reconnecting to what you're feeling and allowing it to move through you. And so go ahead and close your eyes for a moment if you're in a space that you can do that. And just take a few nice, slow, steady breaths. And just start to bring your awareness inward. And then just ask yourself, what have I been avoiding feeling? What have I been avoiding feeling? Not the story, just the emotion, and see what comes up. It could be anything. It might be anger, sadness, anxiety. It could even be excitement and joy. A lot of us actually don't allow ourselves to fully feel what we consider the good emotions either, for various reasons. Maybe it's even something you can't quite name yet. Just get a sense of what that feeling is. And once you sense something, once something's there, I want you to notice where you feel it in your body. Where do I feel this emotion in my body? You can always ask your angels to show you where it is too, if you're having a hard time locating it. And maybe just your attention is brought to that area in your body. Maybe you feel some sort of physical sensation, like fluttering or tightness or something in that area of your body. Your body will tell you in a lot of different ways, and it's usually pretty subtle. So once you find where you're mainly feeling that emotion, just allow yourself to imagine like you're sinking into it. Maybe like you're letting yourself sink deep into a tub. What does it feel like? Maybe it feels tight or heavy. Maybe it feels free or buzzing. And just allow yourself to get curious. There's no right or wrong way to sense this. And then once you get a feel of what that feels like let's get a little more curious with it. And just gently ask yourself, like, what might be underneath this feeling? And what might this feeling be trying to show me? And what's really cool is that when we name and locate these emotions, they begin to shift. When these emotions are felt, they can finally move. That's when they're avoided, they tend to stay stuck. So now bring your awareness even more fully into that area of your body. And now let's invite in your angels for a little support. Hopefully now you know what you're feeling, where it is, what it feels like. Maybe you get a sense of what's underneath it or what it's trying to tell you. And you can call out to any of your angels. I'm going to call in all our angels for us, and I'm going to call in Archangel Raphael specifically too. And so if you want to do a private little invite in your mind, angels, please come into my space. Please help me with this. We don't need to be formal. Ask them to bring healing, bring their energy into this space. Maybe you feel a different energy enter your body in this space. Maybe you get a sense of light of any different color pouring into this space. And as you breathe, imagine this area softening or opening, allowing this stuck energy, which is really what emotions end up being, stuck energy. Allow it to shift and move. And just stay present with it for a few moments and just notice what changes. And sometimes, as we just simply ask the angels to come in and help move some of this energy, you might receive more insight. You might feel some sort of release. And the best part of what's happening is that you're staying with yourself right now instead of leaving the experience. That's where the real shift begins. And so now that you're already so nice and present in yourselves, I want to show you another really easy practice that you can do. Because really, one of the most powerful ways you can stay connected to your body during spiritual work and throughout your life is to connect to your heart. Your heart really is the portal to spirit. It's your center. It's the place where your spiritual and your physical aspects meet. And that's why so much focus in spirituality and meditation is placed in the heart space. There's definitely a reason for it. And actually, in your chakra system, the heart chakra acts as a bridge between your lower chakras, which are your physical chakras, and your higher chakras, which are your spiritual chakras. And so, to truly connect with spirit, it's important to unite the spiritual with the physical. And for most of us, we've developed a habit of spending a lot more time in our minds than our hearts. And it takes practice to shift this because really it becomes a habit to spend more time in our mind. Um, and so it can take practice to shift this so you can easily center yourself in your heart and access it more quickly, even in challenging moments. And so the practice of getting into your heart space is very, very simple, but it doesn't mean that it's always easy. So it is totally normal to find it more difficult on some days than others to be able to get into your heart space. But what I found is that with regular practice, you can drop into your heart space more quickly, really like the drop of the hat, even during stressful times, and you can experience greater peace in your life. And so I invite you to close your eyes again. I'm just going to lead you back into your heart. And so, what I like to imagine is with each exhale, that I move my awareness from my mind down into my heart. So I almost imagine my awareness almost like a ball of energy, something that I can like see move. And with each exhale, I almost like pull it down into the space of my heart. And if you find your awareness resisting leaving your mind, the trick I like to use with myself is I invite my whole mind to move into my heart with me. There's plenty of space for it. And I just want you to just pay attention to any subtle little changes that you feel in your body as you move your energy from your mind into your heart. And that's really part of the practice is noticing what that feels like. That's you connecting to your clairsentience. And so for me, for example, when I'm moving into my heart space, things I notice is that my breath just automatically starts to slow down. It deepens. I notice that my shoulders start to feel a little more relaxed. And my personal telltale sign that I've made it into my heart is like I almost want to like make this little sigh, like, oh, at last. And when I first started doing this practice, I actually found it highly frustrating because I found it really hard to get into my heart. But I did this like a mini meditation where I would do it for maybe 1 minute, but 10 times a day. Because the practice is really returning to your heart over and over. So most of the time now, one exhale, I can move into my heart space now. And so it's a really powerful reset. Any time in life where you're starting to feel a little stressed out, need a little reset, it's a really powerful one. Then once you're in your heart space, you can do some extra fun things too to help you really learn how to trust your body's connection, trust your discernment. I like to call it heart discernment. And really like how you might use a muscle testing or you might use a pendulum to receive yes or no answers. Your heart can be a really powerful tool to discern what's true for you too. And so this is really just about learning to recognize what your internal yes and no's are to help you become more attuned to your intuitive senses, especially again, your clairsentience. So this is very simple practice, but very powerful because you get to learn how to become centered. You get to take back the power of your body. You also get to develop your clairsentience as you do it. And so now that you are in the space of your heart, I simply want you to ask your heart, show me what a yes feels like. And we call it heart discernment because typically you would feel something around the area of your heart. But for a lot of folks, it goes up kind of as high as their throat or as low as their belly. And everyone's yes can be a little bit different. Everyone receives this differently. Um, for a lot of folks, it might feel like a little lift of energy or a little expansion or maybe a little warmth or tingling. So you can just sit with this one. Again, even after our session tonight, show me a yes. And then go ahead and ask your heart to show you a no. What does a no feel like? And again, just notice what comes up. It'll be subtle for most folks. Again, it's going to be different for everybody. But a lot of times no's feel almost a little opposite of what the yeses do. Maybe it feels like a little drop in energy, like a drop down into your stomach, or a tightness, cold, constriction. I also find that most people find that they have either their yes or no is stronger. Like for me, my no is much stronger than my yes, for example. And if you don't feel like you're getting something really strong right away, it's okay. Ask your angels to like amp it up, even 25% more. Amp it up. Let me feel it more. And it's just something you can keep practicing until it's very clear, like, I know this is what my yes feels like. I know this is what my no feels like. So you recognize it easier. So then even throughout your day, as you go about things, you start to get yeses and nos, sometimes without even asking. And you can recognize that feeling. And so take a moment now, maybe a decision you need to make in your life. Should I go out with my friend this weekend? Should I take this class? Whatever it is, it can be a small thing. And just ask your heart and see if you get a yes or a no. And honestly, I'd suggest asking less important questions at first while you're still getting used to what that yes and no is. If you jump right to, should I quit my job? Should I marry this person? Like, should I move across the country? Like really big decisions. A lot of times, if you recognize if your heart starts to beat faster, that's just your nerves. Recenter yourself, get back into your heart, and try again. Is everyone getting like what your yes and what your no is? Doing some nods. Oh, Marla, flutter a tickle in the tummy for yes. Nothing for your no yet. Yeah. Yeah, keep trying it. It'll definitely come. Yeah, I had a meditation teacher once that really like changed my world with this one saying. He said, small time, many time. Like we always think like we have to do these like big, deep meditations, like at least half hour is not worth it, but then we never have that time, so then we never do it, you know? And he said it was like so much more effective just to do 10 1-minute meditations a day than, trying to do the 10-minute one that you never get in. But yeah, it's really about learning how to reset yourself. Oh, and Teresa, your heart space felt very light. Yeah, and your no was very heavy. Yeah. My yes, it like almost feels like a little, like almost like if I had an air bubble, like in my high heart, it kind of lifts up almost like close to my throat. And then my no feels like it starts lower in my heart and it feels just like a drop into my stomach. But again, like I can physically sense my no a lot easier than my yes. Um, cool. But yeah, this is one just try to remind yourself, I'm gonna move into my heart space. I'm gonna take 1 minute, 2 minutes just to move into my heart. And then if you have time, maybe practice the yes or no's, get a sense of that. Um, you don't need a pendulum anymore. You are one. So, really, I just want you to know awakening isn't about ascending beyond your humanness. It's becoming more human. And it's remembering that the intelligence has always lived inside of you. And the more that you trust your inner knowing, the harder it becomes for the world to manipulate you. And so just keep working on connecting with your intuition, your angels, your guides. The world really needs you awake and to be true to yourself. And so I have a free gift for all of you for being here today. I have a guide that I channeled from the Akashic Records called What Kind of Lightworker Are You? And after doing thousands and thousands of Akashic Record readings, I found that the number one question I always got was, what is my soul's purpose? And so I learned so much about soul purpose doing all these readings. And my guides really talked about soul purpose being like really almost like two kinds that people have. Like one is like what they just call your personal soul purpose, really what your soul wants to experience, learn, and grow in this lifetime and many lifetimes. But what they became really, really interested in talking to people about was their light worker purpose. Like this purpose that's like bigger than you. The reason that you're here to help others and to serve in some way, in a bigger way, to really help kind of the we consciousness. That's the part of you that is your light worker purpose. And so this guide has 12 different types of light workers that you can learn more about your purpose. And so Melanie's going to drop a link to that where you can download that if you're interested in it. And so you can have some fun with that. Um, we have another session coming up in 4 minutes with Teresa, and it's going to be Stop Living in Fear and Start Choosing the Life You Truly Desire. What we're going to do is we're just going to give you just a quick, like 4 or 5 minute break in case you need to run to the bathroom, get a glass of water, and then we'll come right back. So thank you all so much for coming and hanging out with me, and I hope these practices will be helpful for you. I'd love to hear about how they're working for you. So we'll see you in just a few minutes, okay?